God is telling me that mankind needs to wake up. God is telling me that mankind needs to wake up because it has been sleeping for far too long. Mankind, God is telling me, is so far in the dream and has been purposefully manipulated to be so far in the dream that we have forgotten the truth of who we are. And that's what the other side wants, for us to forget that we are infinitely more than what this reality is. We have been given the theory of separation that gives everything just a different category of everything, and all of those categories don't really exist because we give certain positive powers to certain parts of the categories of society that we have made and others negative, but really those are just categories that don't exist. Nobody is better than another because we are infinitely connected to one another. Infinitely connected means infinitely connected to one. Infinitely connected does not mean multiple connections, because all connections from the beginning to the non-end begin with one source. That source birthed everything into creation. It is the God source, the God energy that we are infinitely connected to. In all respects, when you are infinitely connected to something, you are that thing. We are infinitely connected to each other, therefore we are one another. Therefore, it doesn't make any sense to give certain powers to all of these categories and put another person down. Race doesn't exist. Sexual orientation does not exist. Transvestite does not exist. Gay does not exist. Religion does not exist, but the lessons of religion for the positive do exist, as in the lessons of everything in life. What it's like to be connected to a higher source in the physical world, to be connected to a higher dimensional energy that comes and changes your life forever. It's a direct connection to a higher dimensional platform. We know higher dimensional energy is a lot faster, a lot more purifying, a lot more loving, a lot more real, more of spirit. The beings that I'm speaking of, that I'm connected to, used to be known as the Anunnaki when they had physical form. However, these beings have evolved since then and were taken in by the source, God, if you will, and they are the watchers of this realm. They are light beings They are the same people that the Indians call the sky people. Some people call the star beings. They are the same beings. I call them the Watchers. And after they gave me that name, I went and looked it up and was completely flabbergasted to see that their name to me as the Watchers was also in the Bible. It was also with the Sumerians. It was also with the Egyptians. They told me that they were here to guide me on fulfilling my purpose, because what I have dreamed of since the age of 10 is going to be real. And that dream since the age of 10 was for world peace. God has given me a blessing by having me connected to this higher source. They're around us all the time, and most of us don't even know it. They show us that they are here all the time, but you have to have eyes in order to see it. There are a few crop circles that I know of that don't look like any crop circles ever in the history of us knowing about crop circles. They look completely disheveled and they look completely random, but it's not random. When I noticed I was able to decipher what looks like artistic random chaos, I asked them, was that meant for me? And they said yes. They said yes because it will add to everything that is my truth thus far. Extraterrestrials, known to me as the Watchers, have opened my eyes to a greater universal knowledge and connected me directly, not only with them, but with the source, because being connected to them is a higher dimensional energy, and grounding that to me in this reality, which we need more of. Are you or are you not tired of this dark, archaic system of fear, control, and misery? Because really, we as a collective species need to understand that there's nothing to fear but fear itself, and we also need to understand what the truth is of this reality. This reality is nothing more than a holographic live world simulation meant for us to learn lessons. And the main lesson that we are to learn while we are here is to know thyself. Knowing thyself and truly loving thyself, you are loving, understanding, and loving everybody else. Because you can't love somebody else until you truly love yourself. And to truly love yourself is to know yourself, not just from the physical, but deeper than that, to the spiritual core, the infinite, most sacred and important part of all of us. You are not your name. You are not of a nation. You are not a race. You are not a sexual orientation. You are not even a president. You are acting the role of a president. You are not anything that you are. You're acting out a simulation of whatever it is you think that you are. So if we're acting out simulations and roles, And this is only a dream. This world will we need to understand that this world will never be anything but what we created to be. That's how we got from horseback to being on the moon. And if we can do all of that, and if our technology can continue to progress, we need to understand that war is futile for the future evolution of our species. We need to understand that the greed and the power that we give to worldly things such as money or status symbols or other things that lift a person up without their soul lifting them up, those things are not real. The Watchers have told me that mankind needs to learn to know, learn, live, and grow to be in all aspects. One with a law called the universal law of beings of higher intelligence, which is what we are to this planet. Not the highest, but we are the most high attached to this planet. The law of beings of higher intelligence states that every person born into physical world life, every being of higher intelligence born into physical world life has a God-given right of birth to do what it is that secures their own personal happiness within this reality. Doing whatever they wish with whomever they wish, doing anything they wish with whomever they please, so long as there is no harm done to oneself and there is no harm done to another. And there are plenty of ways to harm another, but we also need to understand that harming another is, in truth, harming ourselves. To harm another, to cause hurt or pain to another, is to cause hurt or pain to oneself. To kill another is to kill yourself. You just killed a piece of your soul. They told me that if mankind were to learn this and be one with this universal law from the age of learning it as soon as infancy and keeping it generation after generation, we will then come to be at a level of where we are supposed to be bringing and attracting light, more light to our realm, and raising ourselves up past what this world we have let it come to create. This selfish, mass manipulative kind of stupid way of being, relinquishing control to those who don't deserve it. And at the end of the day, you don't have to relinquish control to anybody but yourself and to God. All of the things in society that try to keep us down, it is now, with me saying all of this, a new stage of human ignorance to be this way if one is synchronized with the truth of what the law of beings of higher intelligence is trying to say. and to sync with human consciousness and raise it for the better apart from this world. Raise us as we are in collective spirit for the universal truth. Knowing this law, if a person does not like another person for them being who they are, then they have no choice but to recognize that them making that choice not to like another person is really them not liking themselves. Not even in retrospect, that's what it is, because to dislike another person for them being themselves and securing their own personal happiness, as we all so wish to do in peace, then that is saying that you are the one with the issue and not the other person. So do they deserve to be the brunt of your issue when it is your issue? Mankind needs to learn how to face its issues a whole lot better. And facing its issues a whole lot better means each and every one of us breaking away the chains that bound us from a tyrannical, manipulative, societal reign of deceit into the light of the truth, which states that since none of these so-called rules don't exist, then we can be and do whatever we want with whomever we want, so long as it makes me and them happy, and so long as nobody is being harmed physically, emotionally, mentally in the process. I think it might be possible that a lot of people who are mentally bound, ego bound to this reality over listening to what their true selves has been trying to teach them. I am not going to play teacher. I'm just going to say that if you do not understand some of the things that I am saying, that is a dead sign letting you know that you need to discover and find out the truth of who you are. Not in a bad way, not in a negative way, but it's a ding, 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 because we should be able to think of ourselves as the reality of what we are, infinite spiritual beings of light, you know, in this physical reality. And in that, we have a duty, a duty of birth for us to discover that part of ourselves. Understandably so, it may be difficult for some than it is for others. However, it is something that we all must learn to do. Younger and younger, because we are that way as children, but life makes us lose that, It should be the other way around. That should be something that we keep throughout our existence in this physical reality. So understanding the infinite connection to one, we must understand that everything throughout the history of time immemorial has started from one source. One source. One source, infinite connection to one. Furthermore, or in addition to, we must understand the breakdown of the infinite connection, which means that we are infinitely bound to everything that is the past, present, and all of the possible futures that may come. We are infinitely bound to it. Time is not from point A to B. Time is actually secular. Just as we are in the present, so are we in the infinite past. We are infinitely connected to it. So then that leads to understand that if time is secular, then, and being in this time is also being in all times, time travel is there and possible. Considering the reality of what this physical realm is, it is nothing more than a holographic live world simulation. And if it is that, then it is nothing, no different from a computer simulation. It's all ones and zeros that we can control. And since we're infinitely greater than this reality, we can do an infinite amount of things once we evolve to certain levels of conscious, collective conscious being. Once we evolve to certain higher levels of collective conscious being, we will figure out that we can do anything to this reality that we can think of, just like in a cartoon or in the movies. Technology is supposed to go hand in hand with the physical being. It's supposed to let the physical collective being know where it is at as far as its consciousness evolutionary progress. However, we have taken our sign of collective consciousness growth and perverted it into something that is the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing, which is being what we are, a collective cohesion of consciousness, radiating energy back and forth, creating the illusion of what this world is, and letting it do what it wants to do instead of us taking responsibility for the truth of who we really are, who all of us really are. Because a person that does not make the choice to try and listen somewhat to what I'm saying, because it's too hard to understand. When something is too hard to understand or comprehend, that is usually a sign that you need to pay attention that much more, because something inside you is deflecting what you really need to hear or get at. Much like people who don't want to hear the truth, the respectful truth, getting angry or wanting to leave the room, not wanting to hear what it is they should hear. It's the same thing. The male of our species has been the proverbial victim of the most of what it is, this society's, this world's mass manipulation. Men are made to dislike each other in all areas of life. This stems from some with race, some with nationality, some with religion, some with sexual orientation, some with wealth or monetary status or worldly status. Men are the most manipulated in the social system that we have today, and it is truly unfair, because if we are to understand the infinite connection of one, then we as men need to learn that we are each other, no matter what we are. Black, white, Russian, German, American, Bohemian, or even from the Cayman Islands, Wagwan.